This video is going to show you a solo 100k plus platinum rank on the Master Nightfall this week. The strats that I've used in this video you can also use on Legend. It would be literally the same run, just a little quicker than what this one was. So this is Birthplace of the Val, of course. So if you're not familiar with this one, then you'll find out some information, some tips about it. There'll be 2 overloads spawning at the start. Your goal is to at least take down the initial one that you see and get a Devour chain going as quickly as possible. Obviously we're on Voidwalker Warlock here. And get some Witherhoards down on the floor as well, just to sort of keep the chain going. The overloads fell off map. That's fine if that happens. You will still get scoring for the champ. Unless the champ falls off and you don't tag, then you won't. The unstoppable champion will spawn here, left or right. It just depends. Doesn't really matter if you don't take the unstoppable right away. This is where you stand, just to the right here for cover. So you're not exposed by the unstoppable if you haven't stopped. Obviously using an exotic grenade launcher Witherhoard. I won't be spamming it too much more. Right, I won't be spamming it for every video. I understand that every solo video that you're seeing from pretty much everybody involves Witherhoard in some fashion. So I'm not going to make it where it's like Season of the Witherhoard type thing, where I'm just constantly using Witherhoards, because I will get fed up myself of that playstyle. So there'll be other things incorporated, right? I'll look at other exotics to use. There's a, so I will do that. But this is just a sort of a generic loadout that anyone can sort of do and get it done. So with the plate capture point, this is why we've got Nova Warp on. I feel as though it's handy. It would be handy in a solo. I know the Cataclysmic Nova would probably be the more efficient setup, but I'm just showing you a tip of if you'd use a Roman Super like so, like look at how much I can tank here. Bear in mind it's a 1610 Master. I know I'm quite high in power, but you would still be able to survive that even if you were under leveled, like 20 under. You would still survive that in a Nova Warp. So that's what the Roman Super is there for, and it's pretty decent when you get close to power of the activity. Nova Warp it can actually take out overloads, providing that you're right on the money, you're quick enough with it. If you're not quick enough with it, you will fail, which you'll see me do that on one of the overloads, 1 or 2. I end up sort of not fast enough with it, popping the super. We've still got our Devour chain going. If you've skipped the previous room, some ads, just bear in mind some screeps can sneak up on you. There's some corrupted raiders on this cliff area. That's what you want to focus next. Whilst, as I say, trying to keep your Devour chain going. The more aggressive you play, the better. But if you are underpowered, like 1580s and all that stuff, you will be playing this like a GM. Which would be nothing like what the gameplay you see here. If you're 1590s, you can get away with what I'm doing. 1600s, you can definitely, do what I'm, doing. We got a stun here with the unstoppable, which is really good. Because the reason why I was wanting to do that is because when you push up, the ads aggro, and the overload champion will put down a tether to make all the ads immune plus the overload. That presents a problem because you can't then stun the unstoppable without engaging with the tether. By that time, the unstoppable could have killed you. So if we take out the unstoppable champion from a range out of the equation, makes the whole this little bit easier. Or just use a Nova if you ran that class. Obviously, I ran Nova Warp. They're both strong. Both strong. Like the Warlock is exceptional in Birthplace. So is Hunter as well. I guess they all are, especially when you're using Void, because it's a Void acute burn. Make sure that you're running Void weapons, all Void. Now notice they're both feisting weapon. They're both feist foundry weapons, which means you can put on the class item mod called Sharpshooter or Sharpshooting, and it increases the effectiveness of the Vice Stinger perk. So I'm getting benefit from my linear and my SMG. So whenever you're using Vice weapons, get that mod on. It's really good because it's only +1 energy. So now look, what's happened here? The door's shut. What's going on? Right? What I've done is I've went too fast and I've bugged the CP out. I haven't ran Birthplace in that long that I forgot a couple of things. Like this was a thing when it first launched. I remember doing it. So you go all the way back, and look, you get the new objective. So I've went too quick. Door wasn't opening. So we got screwed over there because the ads now have spawned before I get there. Generally, the ads will spawn just, and I can nade that door and I kill them all. But now they've already spawned because I've screwed up the CP. So it's just a thing to know. If that happens, you just go back. That's how you fix the checkpoint. Kill these initial set of ads. Captains, Solar and Arc. I believe it's Solar and Arc, or can be different shields. I can't remember. But basically, you want to come over here. This is the little trick. Don't be baited into try and take this overload. I was baited into doing that. I was like, oh, I have a good angle here, and I didn't because I get frozen here, so I was quite lucky. So I'll pop super. My plan was to pop super, to be honest, to take out the captains. I just thought that I would have enough time to deal with that overload, but I didn't. This is where the Roman super comes in its strengths, because you can just bypass these elemental shields that would otherwise be a problem to you. It isn't. So look, you can quickly clear this room out with the Nova Warp super fast. Now we'll deal with the overload. So the goal of that is to clear out all ads and isolate just you and the overload at the end, right? You then get ported to this room here. You can skip. So this room you can skip the entire thing and then just go and kill the champ. I believe there was a bug where you dealt damage to the champ and then you could jump through the portal before it was there. I don't know if that's still there. But I'd rather kill the champ for the purpose of doing this solo master, because for ammo and all that stuff, super energy. So I wasn't wanting to sort of do that. If that still exists, I don't know. I didn't actually try it. Probably people won't even know what I'm going on about. You do a little damage to him and you don't actually kill the champ, and you jump where the portal spawns and you jump through. But I don't know if that still works or not. But this is a good angle to take the champ if you're just doing it legit. Like this. Notice I'm being conservative with ammo because it's famine. The weekly modifier is famine. The daily modifier is subtle foes, which is actually nasty on this one because it makes Screebs invisible, which is, I mean, it's not too bad if you know where they're coming from, but you gotta be careful. 2 unstoppables left and right. Focus one side. Then the other one will push. So I was waiting for that. Like, Witherhoard does insane damage, especially with solo operative and weak and clear, where to the point where you can really just use Witherhoard on champs. Witherhoard in your primary, you don't need to use too much heavy here and there. It's just with it being famine on. And now I forgot that Loosen Finish, I've just thought now, there's Loosen Finisher available where you finish champs and you get ammo. The problem with Loosen Finisher is that it is a class item mod. I believe it's 6. I can't mind if it's 6, but it's irrelevant exactly what it is, because what it means is that you can't run solo operative and weak and clear together. So you're going to have to make a decision. Now, I didn't run a debuff on my grenade, Echo of Undermining. Right, we all know that fragment. We used it for ages. I took that on off. Reason being is because I've got a debuff via weak and clear. But if I wanted to use Loosen Finisher, here's what I would do. Take weak and clear off. Run the Loosen Finisher. Right, and then I've got some ammo. But if it's 6, you can't run solo operative. So I'm not sure the energy requirement on it. I hope it's 5, but I bet you it's 6. Because it would mean infinite heavy, basically. So Loosen Finisher is a really good one. But mainly your ability shine in this one anyways. There's not a high requirement for like ammo too much. Witherhoard is Witherhoard. You get plenty of ammo of that weapon no matter what. It's almost like it's got inbuilt scavenger in it. Or some people have said it's to do with if you Witherhoard the floor then switch to your primary, the game counts it as a primary kill as opposed to special kill, therefore you get special ammo. Could be that. Not 100% certain. You've got to be careful on this plate. Notice we supered the other plate, because the other plate's more dangerous, I think, than this plate. This plate, I can see all angles, although there is a script behind me if you didn't notice by the radar. But, yeah, this plate's easier, I think, because the spawn killing of the ads make sure that you're constantly doing your nading as adds are spawning in and your Witherhoards, and you should be fine with this, with the clear of this. Obviously, if you're on a hunter, Night Stalker is really good on this because you can just bypass these two plates just with constant invis. On a Titan, Solar Titan would be really good. Void Titan would be really good. Even Arc, I suppose. Titan all round, very good. Unstoppable champion here. Obviously, we can just spawn kill with Witherhoard. And clear the corruption. And then we've got two overlords here. So I was, well, actually, there's this room here first. This is the room you'll see, obviously, at the boss fight, if you're not aware. A tip, I guess, about this room is that if you get any ammo drops here, it is counted for the boss fight. So if you come back here in the boss fight, like you see, you got a heavy brick. You don't want to pick it up now. Pick it up later. When you need it more, you'll need it more then, right? Which I don't think I got many bricks here, but if I did, I would be saving them. Because right now my ammo health is good. I've got plenty of it right at this minute. Another thing that you'll see happens more on Grandmaster and Master difficulty is that your nade will get shot out of your hand quite often against certain enemy types. It's just sort of the nature of the game. It's the same with the Nova Bomb. When you Nova Bomb from a range, you'll often find it just gets shot before it reaches that enemy. So especially if you like Nova Bomb on an Overlord, make sure that Overlord is stunned first. Now, Funnel Web does a good job. Even from a range, it can still sustain Overlord, the Overlord status from even all the way back here. So I'm just showing you. Actually, we kind of got trolled here. So I thought all the corrupted Ravengers were killed. One come behind me and throws me. So I'm not paying too much attention because it's only Master and it's a one and done video. I'll never do Master again this season for Birthplace probably. Well, maybe another two this week, but after this week's gone, it'll be GMs. Well, after the 6-week rotation, when we get to GMs, it'll be just GM. I won't be doing much Masters. So I don't pay. I'm not putting everything in, all my resources and my time into it because it's only Master. If you get me. So we nearly killed this Overlord. I was too slow at popping super. So this looks really bad. But what I have done, which is good, is cleared out all the ads. So the super served a purpose. It's worth using the super in this room because you don't want to use it on the next section. So you may as well use it now. But on the next section, you will get your super back for boss fight. And that's when you do want it. So you may as well use it here. If I would just been a little quicker, like stun instantly, then pop super, you will definitely kill an Overlord. Power level wise, you won't. If you're like 1580s, you ain't doing that. You'd be better off running Nova, I suppose, but then you wouldn't have the power of Roman Super, damage resistance, and capturing plates easier. So there's a balance to be made, and it's a choice. If you okay capturing plates, just run Nova. Obviously, I am. I'm just showing the utility of Nova Warp, which is a usable super still. It's not completely trash like people think. Definitely not. Because obviously they've given it a couple of buffs over the last 12 months. This little section here, there's only 2 unstoppables at the back. There's 2 VIP Scorn bosses, which that's your focus really. One pushes, one doesn't. We're going to use a bit of linear to deal with this because we don't want to push up too far. When you push up so far past those pillars, the unstoppables will aggro onto you. And one can teleport. One does teleport as well. Like, look at that. So I totally didn't see that coming at all. So it's just something you've got to be aware of. Like, when you approach the pillars, just sort of take a moment to see where both unstoppables are. And then start dealing with them like that. Like, look, I can isolate one unstoppable from the other. Obviously, the snowballs up, but I barely used them, honestly. I'm not a fan of gimmicks. They're there. I'm not going to use them, you know. I'm just looking to solo it. I'm not bothered about like snowball only Nightfall. It's so gimmicky. It's just something that I'm not like into. So you won't see me using it like the snowballs too much because I've got a busy week on and I'm not spending time just throwing snowballs. So just want to get it done, get a solo done, and then move on to the next leveling character that I need to do. So as we start the corruption. Obviously, boss spawns. This is where so on phase one, there's an overload. You want to get Witherhoard down plus a nade, and then you can use super or heavy. Two free Taipan shots will melt an overload down, but obviously I'm showing you the utility of I've actually killed an overload and I've dealt more than half of the first bar to the boss just from one super, a couple of nades, and Witherhoard. So it's totally worth doing because we're going to farm up supers. For every phase we'll have a super, because that's what I think with Birthplace of the Vile is the most difficult part of the fight, is that when you're fresh after a phase, there's a champ. So phase one's overload, phase two is unstoppable, phase three is back to overload. But while that overload and everything's spawn, and so are a bunch of ads, I'll talk more in depth about the ad spawns when GM comes out. You don't need to know too much. Like, every phase is different. There's subtle differences, and you need to know that. Like, phase 3 is quite brutal because there's more raiders, so they hit you from range, and there's more stasis enemies. Whereas phase 2 has the solar guys that do the melee. They chase you forever, right, on phase 2. Or I might be getting the phases mixed up, but like I say, I'll focus it more when GM comes out. This room I could entirely skip. I've showed you how to skip this room. I'm not going to, though, for ammo purposes. And actually, I recommend that you farm up a super. This is your respite, right? You don't have much rest at the boss room. This is, you do. You have all the rest that you want to take. So, like in a GM run, day one, if you want to just wait 3 of you in a team with your supers and then go out, you know, if one person's on well and they're just 10% short, wait before you go through the portal. Don't. There's no timer. There's no well, there is a timer on GM, but there's no time to sort of say that you have to go through the portal. This is a good place to stand as well to farm nades or super energy. I've got Ashes assets on the helmet, which is probably the most important mod to have on, other than weapon mods for champs. That is, make sure you have a solar helmet. Always play with a solar helmet when you're on Voidwalker, because Ashes to assets is too good to pass up. I haven't got ammo finder on, and that would have helped me out ammo wise, but it doesn't matter because the build is really what you need. As there's not infinite waves of ads, but for every phase there's like 7 waves of enemies or something. A lot of enemies, and they keep coming for quite some time. Unstoppable is spawned in. It's random which side the champ can spawn in. You'll see that there'll be 2 waves of enemies. It'll be just either or. You've got to sort of make a decision, right? It's a good time to use a super as well. We've cleared out this champ, we've cleared out both ogres, one unstoppable, one just a general abomination. And this is where you want to sort of, for every wave, when you get that audio cue that there's another wave, get a nade down. You're getting your Devour chain going, you can get a rift down, and just basically that's how you play the fight. But try not to nade the boss all the time, right? Only if there's a bunch of ads around the boss, because if you spam your nade too much, you might end up running out of Devour, right? And then if you've got no melee, no grenade, no healing rift, and then there's a wave of ads, you've screwed up because there's tons of ads coming your way. You've got no option for Devour right now. So you've got to play this, you've got to dictate the room a little bit, right? And obviously, you've got to have good discipline stat. Have a good discipline stat, obviously, for this. That's what makes Contraverse holds obviously so good, just with the spam that you can do. So this is that room before that we saw, same deal. I've got no heavy, so I'm going to kill some of the ads. I think I do get a heavy brick, but it falls off map. Just a little thing about that. It's such an unfair mechanic where ammo falls off map, you don't get it. In my opinion, they need to... Because of they're making some really good, oh, we do get a brick. They're making some really good environments for us to fight in, especially like that new mission and stuff. But when ammo falls off the map, they need to code it so that when that ammo falls off, your gun automatically gets that ammo. Just like back in the day when you ran out of ammo, the game would auto give you ammo. That's what the fix needs to be. That because there's so many times because the game then thinks you've had a plenty amount of heavy when a brick falls off the map, but when you actually haven't, so it affects your drops. It's such a huge thing that it is an annoyance, and it depends on what environment you're playing in, right, and what the nightfall is or what the dungeon is. That Stasis Ravager was trying to troll us again. I guess the lesson is do not engage with the overload until all the stasis Ravengers are taken out because they can freeze you. And then you're open to be sniped by that overload. There are different overloads. Yeah, there's some sniper ones and then there's the solo ones. The solo ones aren't as bad. The sniper ones, because of Scorn snipers, they're bugged. So they're still bugged. They still do sometimes more damage than they're meant to. I've saw some inconsistent values of when I'm getting sniped. Sometimes it's half HP, sometimes it's 3/4, and that's from full HP, mind. Sometimes I get in the red from one shot, and sometimes I don't. So on GM, that's the hardest thing with this is that sometimes you might get one shot by a sniper, sometimes you won't. It's because the sniper and bolts are classed as two shots. So the game doesn't really know how to code it. I thought they'd fix this at some point, but they haven't. It's still the same. So good luck with the GM on that. So I didn't actually realise I had no heavy left, so it's unfortunate because if I'd had heavy, I would have been able to finish the boss there. So now what we're going to do is a bit of map rotation, right? And just a case of, these are the Stasis Ravengers, so I was right there on the final phase. Just Witherhoard behind you constantly, basically, and then nade and stuff. Did you notice the bad play I've just done though? If you notice what I've just done what I told you not to do. When there's just before an ad phase, don't nade the boss because now what's happened is I don't have a nade, don't have a healing rift, melee ability, no way of getting Devour, so I've got to do a map rotation. So try to refrain from nading the boss when there's no ads because there's an ad phase right round the corner. So you would wait with your nade until that ad phase was to start. But beauty of Witherhoard is you can shoot boss, run away. Yeah? And that's what we're relying on at this minute. Boss is about dead. But that was the solo master for this week on Birthplace on a Warlock. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.